It's the end of the first week. How have things gone?
Well, we haven't really kicked the ball in earnest yet. You don't start the games until the Great Wakering match, which is our traditional curtain raiser. But in terms of fitness levels, looking at the lads, your first couple of weeks are all about fitness, and my word, they've come back in good shape. I think that the thing I'm going to have to really control over the course of the whole season, and more importantly the 6 weeks that we've got in terms of preparation, are how much energy that we're putting into pre-season, because they've come back in such good condition. I think I always want to go into the season with a double handful, and I want to continue during the course of the season with that double handful. And if you haven't got that, and you do expend too much energy too early, then you can collapse during the course of the season, energy-wise, and then it's bad planning. So I think it's going to be the rest and the recuperation and the preparation that's going to be more important, as opposed to the fitness levels this year, because they were fit last year, the players, no doubt about it. They left the season in a great semblance of fitness. The levels were tested when we left, and 6 weeks later you're testing them again, and there's not too much difference. They've come back and done their tests over at Garren's, and then we've got the footballs out as early as the second day, and the standard of the football, because they can run, the standard of the football is quite high as well. So I don't want to peak too early. It's we're going to go to Spain, and we're going to have 5 days of we talk about double periodisation. It's going to be triple periodisation, where you're training first thing in the morning before the sun really gets warm. We've had a sample of that last year at Madrid when we went to their training camp. We played a game of football at 10:30 in the morning, and it was 35 degrees of heat. It was horrendous. So we're going to try and intercept that, get up them about 7 o'clock in the morning, have a bit of breakfast, and then get into them about 8 o'clock when the sun's probably about 25, 26 degrees as opposed to 35, 36, which is predicted for next week. But then, fall into Spanish time, siesta in the afternoon, and pool sessions, and weights in the gym, and then do a session on the night time, football-wise, again, probably as late as 8 o'clock, and finish at 10. So it's really a well thought out programme, and the 5 days are going to be really designed to get the players to their maximums in terms of the aerobic capacity, and then we'll play great weight cream when we get back.
A couple of the lads, when I spoke to them on the first day back, said you'd mentioned an extra 20% that you wanted this year to get over the line. Have you sensed that in the early sessions, that there is that 20% extra from all of them?
For sure. It's not just 20% effort now, it's 20% effort right the way through the season. It goes back to the mathematics of the game. The mathematics are quite simple. I think, unless it's an extraordinary season, the mathematics of getting 20 clean sheets and 70 goals will get you somewhere near. And we got 20 clean sheets and 56 goals, so we need another 14 goals from somewhere. Now that can come from one individual, that can come from a unit, that can come from set pieces. We weren't as predominant at set pieces as when we had Ryan Cresswell here, say for instance, who got 8 or 9 goals from set pieces. I think our most from a centre half this year was 3. And then the set pieces for and against, they can get you over the winning line as well. Now I'm not saying I'm playing the game. I'm going to design the whole season around set pieces. I want to design the whole season around somebody producing 25 goals instead of 14, which was our top goal scorer. And straight away you've got 10 more goals from somewhere. The midfield players to contribute a little bit more in terms of goals, creativity, and assists. I think we had probably the most potent player in the division in Kevin Hurst with 12 goals and something like 17 assists, and he was involved individually in 45% of our goals last year. So you put all the maths together, you can become a manager, of course you can, but you have to understand how do we improve each individual in each department. And what the boys are doing now, the steps that they're going through now, from now till the 9th of August, won't be 20% extra every day. It's just building up to when we start. Then we need to produce 20%, whether you're a defender, a midfield player or a striker.
The trialists who have come in this week, have any of them done enough to earn a trip to Spain to have a further look at them?
Well, Dan Holman, who he came at the first couple of days, and then obviously the local press got a hold of it because they were down here taking photographs, and that's got him a contract, I believe, at conference level, which is fantastic for him, and good luck to him. Craig Fagan's training with us at the moment, which we had last pre-season, and then Craig got himself a year's contract at Gillingham. We'll have a look at Craig in the Great Wakering game, and then the other 4 trialists. We are obviously going to Spain next week. They can stay here and train with the youths with Ricky Duncan, or keep themselves fit, and then probably will play them in the second half at Great Wakering as well. So it'd be remiss of me to make a decision on a player that's coming in quite simply when we're going through fitness regimes as opposed to football regimes. We'll have a look at them in the games and see what they do.
So that suggests that it's going to be a very close-knit squad already going to Spain, because it will be the core who were here last year.
Very much so, and that's by design as opposed to chance. We let go 5 or 6 players last year, and high-profile players, Freddie Eastwood and Mark Lade and Anthony Straker, Mark Phillips, people like that, who played a big role last year. What we have to do now is replace them players with better players, and it's not easy to find them. It's not easy to certainly where budgets and constraints are concerned. It's not easy to find them. But Bob Shaw's working hard behind the scenes, as are myself, Dave Penny, and Graham Coughlin, trying to get players in. I'm meeting 2 players tomorrow, not with a view to taking them to Spain, but with a view to maybe convincing them that we're a club on the up, and we hopefully will and give a good account of ourselves next season, and if they want a part of that, then they'll come and join us. But they've got to be the right players.
Ryan Leonard was the man who came out on top of the tests that we did last year. I just wondered how everyone fared this year.
Yeah, there was quite a few pleasant surprises. The aerobic test, which is 1500 metres, was more than surpassed by a lot of the players. So that shows you what levels they're at. But working on the strength and conditioning, the guys in there, Mark Williams and Luke Hart, who are responsible for a lot of behind-the-scenes kind of activities, but the little incremental improvements in individuals, from a sprinting perspective, from a technique perspective, from a strength and condition, from a prevention policy perspective. All of them things are behind the scenes, and you don't quite see them on the Saturday. You just want to see a game of football. But there's 1 or 2 very surprising sub 3 second 20-metre sprints. Michael Timlin getting under 3 seconds, which suggests he's quicker than you think, but you don't actually see it out there because he's a grafter. He tends to get in and around people. John White, a pleasant surprise, 2.93 seconds for 20 metres. That's moving. That's shifting. If you can maintain that over 100 metres, that's a decent standard. But you don't necessarily have to do that in a game of football. Where we're concerned, I think that first 20 metres is important. If you can get there sub 3 seconds, then you're going to be moving around the field quicker than what you were when you first arrived. So there's a lot of gauges and good guidelines to improvements, both long-term and short-term, which is pleasing to me.
Who won the 1500?
Who won it in a race? That's quite simply, and no disrespect, it's a layman's question, because the guy that's at the front winning the race isn't necessarily the one that's trying the hardest. There might be somebody in the middle or even at the back that's really trying harder than what the guy at the front's doing. And Will Atkinson won it out of sight. Ryan Leonard set off like a man possessed after about 800 metres, but then he was taken over by about 2 or even 3 of the players. But I think it was Will Atkinson who won the race. But I was at the back and I was toiling harder than him, I'll tell you that now.